Hello, hello. Oh, you're on mute, so I can't hear you.
There we go.
Yay!
How are you?
Good. And just so you know, it is in fact recording.
Perfect. Let me not disturb. Put all this stuff away. Hi.
Hi.
I'm happy to meet with you today.
Me too. So, for everybody that is listening, welcome to the Daily Dose of Healing. And this month, as you know, is Embodied Surrender. And I have my good friend Christina here with me, and she's going to share her story, well, story or stories about healing and about surrender in an embodied way. You can start whenever you like.
So, healing in an embodied way. And just to clarify, like with surrender at the forefront.
Correct.
Okay. Um, to me, surrender has been a beautiful teacher in my healing journey, and it kind of goes hand in hand. As I began my healing journey, I was about manifesting and creating and creating and creating. And the more I created and shifted my mindset, shifted my body, my emotions, more came up. And I shifted somewhere along the line to surrender, in part because everything was just so much. It was so beyond me that there was nothing left to do but to surrender, but to trust there has to be a bigger way. Like rather than the way I see it or I want it to be, can I just open myself to allow life and healing to flow through me? And I think with um, surrender, because we can think of the white flag, like I can't fight anymore. And so I'm going to surrender as if that's a bad thing. But really, we don't look at the I can't fight anymore or I don't want to fight anymore. Why are we fighting to begin with? If abundance and life is our birthright, if health is our birthright, then what are we fighting exactly? And what exactly are we fighting for? To me, surrender is equivalent to receiving. I am receiving all of the gifts of life. I'm receiving the health that I am divinely connected and is my birthright. And to surrender, get to a place where you're able to surrender is like the pinnacle of health, because then you get to say, I no longer need to control everything to feel safe. That to me is surrender.
For sure. 100%. So we've been talking about, or we will be by the time you guys hear this, talking about the difference between surrendering exactly what Christina said, waving the white flag, versus doing all that you have done within your power and then surrendering with your power and seeing what comes about because it takes you out of the way.
Yeah, completely. And I have learned again and again and again, no matter how I look at a situation or how much I want to blame someone else, it is always me. It's me that's in the way. And sometimes that takes time to see ourselves in the way. I see myself as a solution. I see myself as the good one, as the one who is staying on task and the one who is, holding it all together. But that's just it. That is my block, right? Especially, I think a lot of us moms, especially, can relate, but men as well, in this idea of I need to hold it all together. And where exactly are we holding it? In our body, right? Whatever we think we're holding all together and like, oh, I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself, or I could do it better. That was a common theme. Like, even if I was letting my partner do something or someone else do, was like, I could do it better. If I didn't have this or I didn't have that, and I had someone to do this for me and I had someone to do that, then I can do whatever they're doing better. And that is just stuck energy. That is just control. And that's it's unnecessary. It's not allowing for the big flow of the inhale and the exhale. We're not so worried when we're breathing about trying to hold on to all of our oxygen. It's like, oh, how much can I get? And can I store? Like, we exhale, we release, we surrender the breath. And like you're talking about, or you've been talking about, in regards to, you do as much as you can and then you surrender. For me, surrendering is right from the beginning. Like, I am going to be guided on what to do in a surrendered state. This isn't all up to me. And yes, I can do so many things and I can manipulate so much in my life and behaviors. If I do this, they respond to me in this way. But surrender is really, for me, at least lately, I've been really having many lessons in surrender. And it's just me versus me. What can I do to care for myself? And again, I'm in a loving relationship. I am a mother of 4 children. Like this, it's not like I'm just a single woman. I'm saying this, like, what can I do for me? How can I take care of my needs? How can I do all of this? And I need help to have the space to be able to tend to my needs. So it's not like I'm shouldering everything, needing to do everything on my own. I'm asking for the support. I'm saying I need this to happen, and I'm doing it without guilt or facing whatever guilt comes up. I'm doing it regardless of looks on people's faces that we want to avoid. It's like, I am just putting me back into the center, and that allows me to surrender. It's surrendering my control, and it's surrendering my fears based on other people's reactions, or again, how I interact with the world, whether it be people or illness or whatever.
When you first started speaking, you were talking about we see ourselves as the solution. And I was laughing because we forget the duality that if we are the solution, we are also the problem.
Yeah. And it's a hard one. Like, I would have said that I'm actively looking for my problem. Like, I'm actively, and I think most people who are going to be watching this will be saying, like, no, no, I'm on my healing. Like, I've gone to the therapy. I was like, can somebody point out what I'm missing here? Because I'd love for this to shift. But that was another thing. And it's just a very, very like surface kind of example. I was going for a massage, and I've had knots in my shoulders since my 20s. And And so we weren't talking. It was a silent, relaxing massage. As soon as she touched my shoulder, she's like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "Your shoulders don't match the rest of your body. It's like a bag of rocks, right?" And I was a little embarrassed about it because I'm like, I see myself as relaxed, and I there's parts of me that are. And my first thought when she started massaging me was like, okay, I'm going to focus now. It's time to get rid of these knots. Now I am getting rid of the knots. Like, this is going to be the mission. We're getting rid of the knots next. And again, I bet whoever's listening to this, whether it be knots or any other illness or stress in your life, you know exactly that energy of, okay, enough is enough. We're focusing on this. I'm going to heal this. And almost as fast as I had that, I shifted into realizing, like, oh, there it is again. There it is again. Like this need to fix rather than listen, right? The need to manifest instead of surrender. And not saying that there can't be a little bit of both, but I'm just saying that, like, rather than just saying the knots in my shoulders have a story and they're trying to tell me something. They're there for a reason. Everything you have, as hard as this sounds, and again, I've had multiple illnesses, chronic disease, cancer, like all of these things, various things. So I say this with like um a sensitivity to and an awareness of what it's like to live with deep illness that's painful and scary and all of these things. But this idea that we need to fix ourselves rather than just listen and hear what's going on. It's like my shoulders have been holding on to something. And it wasn't until I shifted from let me fix this to let me see what my body is really trying to speak, whisper, shout, yell at me. And when I did, I really unraveled a huge pattern that I had been shouldering, that I'd been carrying on my shoulders since the moment I was born. But it was, again, that shift. And I've gone for massages and I've done the work and I've done ceremonies and I've seen Amanda like thousands of times, and it's not for a lack of not wanting to. It was just a different approach. I was surrendered to what was going on. I was listening. I was receiving the information rather than fighting.
Yeah, that's a concept we speak often of in the daily dose of healing is the difference that you do not need to be fixed because you're not broken. And
Mhm.
so what we need is to restore the connection, whether it be with you and your body, you with whatever part it is that's speaking to you. And in order for us to do that, we got to listen first.
And it gets super sneaky. I would have been the same one. Like I would have been the one saying, make peace with your body. I thought I had peace with my body. I thought I had, I accept my wounds, my flaws, whatever. I accept it all. And yet in that moment, I still saw that riding belief of there's a problem. Okay, now I'm going to give attention to it. Giving attention to it was my like, I'm seeing you and I'm holding you. No, 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 no. I wasn't holding. I was really trying to get rid of. I was trying to fix, and stopping and listening and just not needing to act and not needing to react. And again, all of these things in bigger areas of my life, I would have been like, yeah, I no longer do this. But it gets subtler and subtler and subtler as we're reaching the root of our illness, right? It's like a spiral. So sometimes we get afraid that it's like, oh, this again. But it's like, no, no, no. This is like a different flavor of the same thing. It's just a different area or viewpoint of the same thing, that it's like cleaning your mind on every single angle. Get rid of the lack here, get rid of the lack here, now get rid of the lack here. And it's going to show you, so much of yourself and how you've been operating. And the surrender, again, is helping you get into that wider viewpoint rather than it just being me. Surrendering is letting go to whatever this ego, body, mind thinks it needs, and just taking a breath and being like, okay, what's here? What am I moving through next? And can I be okay with that? Anything that comes after that, any objection, that's what we work on. And just when we think that it's like, okay, so are you sure? Are you sure? Like that's all the stuff that's living inside of us.
Nice. I love that.
Mhm.
It reminded me of as you were saying, subtler and subtler. Yesterday, I noticed, so I can't remember what was happening, but my first reaction, and it wasn't, let's say, a pleasant thought. And so, but then I started feeling bad about that thought because it's like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking these thoughts. I've done so much work. How come I'm thinking these thoughts? And then I said, wait, but what if the first thought is usually my conditioned or my reflex response? It's the thoughts that come after that that I actually choose. I was like, so the first thought, you can't beat yourself up over it. It was just a reaction. It's just a thought. And then from there, I was like, well, now I can choose after the first one to continue in that pathway or to change the thought after that.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because in my experience this past couple of weeks, and something I shared with you already, was just that. That's part of, how I've moved through things. But there was a readiness within me to go even deeper. And there was a safety in my life. I feel very safe and secure at this point in my life that all of a sudden I was catapulted into doubt and unhappiness and questioning things. And again, it's only because of that safety could I have gone down that rabbit hole. But it's like, okay, the tether is secure, so jump, right? Before it's like you put a foot down into the hole and you're like, no, do you know what? We don't need to do this. What are we doing? And I really questioned, like, is this like upper limit happening? Like this glass ceiling that, oh, things are so good that now I need to bring it down somehow, And really what it was part of the shoulders, it was part of the surrender and the lessons in surrender that was showing me, okay, what if you didn't deflect your thoughts? What if you just let them? What if you just let those kind of asshole-ish thoughts, that might come up
Yeah.
and just be in that? Like just allow yourself to see the doubt, realize, yeah, maybe you're never going to be happy in your life, like whatever it is, because I do have a very strong mind, as do you. And so I can coach myself out of any situation. This is where the self coaching really helped. I allowed myself to go through it, to think it, to continue thinking those thoughts, but I was buffering myself from believing them. So rather than switching and saying, okay, you had that, now move on to something else, it was like, okay, keep going, but don't for a second believe that you're actually true. Like, this is true. This is a narrative. So I allowed myself to go and I allowed myself to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, this situation is worse than I thought it was. I thought it was just one little thing. And now every part of my life is sucks. And, all of this stuff,
Totally.
like doomed for, a few days. And luckily in my situation, I've done years and years, like decades of work. And so when I get into a big long thing, my long thing is like 4 or 5 days now. It wasn't always like that. It used to be months, years, whatever. So, and I went through, and of course, I'm asking for signs and I'm asking for guides. Like my go-to, and I'm sure I shared this before on one of our other calls, but like my go-to saying to help me get through things is to please help me to see this differently. I don't ask for the situation to be different because the situation isn't actually what the issue is. It's my perception, right? It's all how we view things, always, always. And so please help me see this differently. I am willing to see this differently because sometimes we're not. We're so fixed in our narrative that we're like, there's no way I want to see this differently. So I want to stay right. And again, at the end of the rainbow here, then I was like, oh, look, it's me. I was the issue again. And here was my inability to let go because of my fears, right? Because of my fears, because I was conditioned a certain way, I was raised a certain way, I believed something. And this isn't, to say, oh, well, that's too bad that I was raised that way. It's like, no, no, no. That gave me a safety parameter for as long as I needed it. I kept operating from there for many more years without needing it. And part of the journey was for me to see it so I can let it go. That's part of the like being free. It's said by many traditions and people, prophets, I don't really know actually, but I've heard it again and again and again that death is like taking off a tight fitting shoe. And I think about that almost every day because to take off a tight fitting shoe is like, no more fear, no more judgment, no more criticism, no more buffering myself, trying to hold anything back. That feels really nice. So every day I think like, how can I loosen my laces? How can I loosen my laces? Every single day. Like, what am I really holding together that I don't need to? And there's always so much. It doesn't matter how long I've been doing this and at this healing journey. And just to share, like, so my shoulders, I still have knots in my shoulders, but they're not like rocks, and I'm sure they'll continue and there'll be more lessons as more of it all unravels. But there was like so much energy going to my head, so much flow that was just kind of bottled. So much was able to flow that I then was able to go through what I just shared about like checking in my self-doubt, holding myself accountable while I really let myself deep dive into what thoughts were running the show. And as soon as I let it all go, as soon as I spotted it, saw how I was still holding on to so much and decided, oh, I don't need that anymore. I can let that go. My face, you can't really see it here, but my face broke out in full eczema, like a mask, like here and here. And it's like, oh, I'm so grateful that not only psychologically and emotionally did I let that go, it's leaving my body, right? Because we'll call them toxic thoughts, but we rarely get the full connection to the toxicity that's then living in our bodies. And it's one and the same. Letting go of all of that, the impurities, so that more flow, like I have a cleaner channel now for life, the way I view things, the way I feel about things, the way I share with my family and friends and my community and all of these things. Like I've just loosened so many laces and it's got to go somewhere. So that's it. I think the key, it goes hand in hand with surrender, because as we surrender, we also need to surrender our healing. And as we surrender and different things happen, right? Like the next step, the next phase of our healing happens, can we not judge it and try not to control that?
And so, what would be, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about faith and surrender. And then also, how do you have faith in something that, you know, you can't see the universe, spirit, God, whatever it is that you want to call it. And they're saying, so you are asking me to have faith in healing, in my own healing, but I don't know how to have faith in that. What
Mm-hmm.
would you tell them? Like, how would you cultivate the faith?
Well, to me, it starts with just recognizing that there is something greater than just me. If I truly believe like it's just me, myself, and I, how am I surrendering? I have to control everything. I have to create everything. I have to make sure the sun comes up. I have to make sure that the moon sets, like that the flowers bloom. Like that is the quality. You have to just be willing to see things differently and recognize actually there is a bigger force outside of me that is helping me in flow. I am a part of nature. So even if we just call it nature, that's something outside of myself. Again, I'm not there like, okay, open petals, it's time to bloom. I'm not like nature has its own blossoming and its own rhythm, and I'm part of that. So if I start there and I start to recognize that I can have faith, belief that the sun's going to come up, I don't have to, that's one thing I don't have to control. Because really, to like the whole faith thing is really offloading sometimes our need to control. And again, not saying that this particular person, that there's many reasons why we might not have faith in something, but at least if we can recognize that there is a natural rhythm that is happening that we are connected to, right? That we usually get sleepy at night, even when we have insomnia. There is a part of us that's like, I know I should be sleeping. And tapping into that part, start there, look at the sun, look at the moon, and look to nature to start saying, okay, so what should I be doing now? What's nature doing now with this season? What's nature doing now with this season? That starts the faith, and that there is a rhythm. And then in order for you to have faith in yourself, well, that's just like unbottling or like taking all the tops off of the bottles that you've tied so closely together, and really just one by one saying, okay, well, why don't I have faith in my healing? Is there anything you do have faith in? And what is that? Why do you have faith in that? And what's separate from you? What makes you separate from whatever it is you have faith in? Sometimes we think, okay, I need to go out into nature. I need to be more in nature. We are nature. You just have to be in yourself. You could be in your home. That's nature in your home. So not seeing ourselves as separate is also a big step in healing, because often that's where that first wound of abandonment, fear, scarcity happens, is that notion of separation.
I love that answer because I said something so similar, but I went internally. I was like, well,
Yeah.
can you breathe? Are you mo constantly monitoring your breath and your heart rate and like, your heart's beating? And if you cut yourself, do you have faith that you're going to heal? And this person, yes, of course I'm going to heal. Okay, so if you can heal this paper cut, why can't you heal the broken leg? Right? Oh, I
Yeah.
can't. Okay, great. So let's start there. You have faith that you'll heal this paper cut? Absolutely. Okay. That's where we
Yeah.
start.
I mean, we're hardwired for healing. And the other thing, and actually, German New Medicine is a concept that really helped me in a lot of my healing. And it's not so much a medicine as it is a mindset. And it taught me that not only do I heal from things, but that those cells are actually stronger. Because prior to this, I always believed, okay, whatever broke would stay the weakest. But that's not the case. And my belief shifted. We're energy, right? we
Yeah.
know we know that we are energy. We have energetic charge in our atoms, in our cells, in our, like in our full body. And with energy there is oh, I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyways, we are energetic. We're
We are.
energetic beings. Just let's just throw that out there. Your energy. And yeah, whatever. If it comes back to me, I'll share it, but just completely dropped. Not
Don't
important.
worry. I'm gonna borrow that from you that it grows back stronger because
Mhm.
there is that element of, even when you're working out and to bring it to like the physical thing, you break the cells and then they go back stronger. That's why you lift the weight so that it can grow back in a different, like a little stronger than it was before. And then all of a sudden over time, you see muscles getting bigger. Same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. And like you were saying, with choosing your thoughts, you can choose your beliefs. You can notice, oh, this is a funky belief that I've been operating by. How can I prove that wrong? That's not ultimately true. It's never ultimately true. Unless it's leading to your liberation, it's not ultimately true. And most of the times, our thoughts are leading to our suffering, right? Because our future isn't created by just random events, it's created by us, what we're projecting and how we're seeing. So, for if we believe, okay, well, I have this illness and I'm going to heal, but I'm going to be weak for the rest of my life, you're right. Absolutely. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I think maybe that's where I was going to try to tie in the energy, but I still, that train of thought just like really went
Me
off.
too.
Like, bye-bye. So, anyways, regardless, we don't need to tie it. Just to say that you can remember that it gets to be stronger. The cells are clearing out. Think of a detox, right? Like you're clearing out these impurities from this mindset. You're clearing out the toxic thoughts, the toxic, what's left behind is strong and pure and resilient because it made it past that funky mentality. You
Love
know,
it.
I've had
Yeah.
like, I've lost fingernails and they've grown back stronger, straighter. It's like my favorite fingernail now is the one that I lost because it's like not crooked or anything. It's so beautiful. And I've had eczema before in other places, and there's no scarring. There's no, because I don't expect there to be. I see this, and my first thought was like, yes, I healed on such a deep level that this is the relief. Like I'm done with that limiting belief. I'm done operating from that point, as opposed to, yay, I just got what? What now? Another thing? Man, I'm never out of the clear. Like I'm always having to deal with something. I never get a break. It's like, no, no, no. This is integration. This is going to, I'm looking at my face every day, remembering, holy moly, you let that go. That was so huge. And now your skin is going to like renew itself. I'm a new being, a new body, a new face. I get to face the world in a new way. Literally. That's
Literally.
exciting.
Super
Literally.
exciting. And
Yeah,
it's
and it's
funny because
painful.
often, like when we ask for something and we receive it, the thing is it doesn't come in the form that we think it would, right? And so most of the time, depending on what you're aware of in that moment, you won't recognize that what you desired was already there or has been given to you. It just didn't look like what you thought it would.
Right. And this is where belief comes into place. Okay. So faith and belief to me are two separate things. Faith, you need to have that idea, that perspective that it's not just you alone walking through this planet. You're part of nature, you're part of something bigger. Belief is what you believe in, what you believe is possible. That is connected to faith, based on what your faith is. But if my belief is that everything is happening for me truly, and I can honestly say after a few years now that that is 100% my belief, it's always happening for me, that
Same.
no matter how it looks, no, because ups and downs happen, they have to, it's part of life. Ups and downs happen. We grow, the leaves grow, they bloom, they drop their leaves, they look dead, they come back alive. This is just part of the cycle, right? And so as I go through my seasons, my cycles, my ups and downs, my belief is so fixed that everything is happening for me that I get excited by my eczema. That if there's traffic, I'm like, oh, I must be missing, something dramatic. Like I have the easiest, gentlest experience of whatever it is karmically, if you want to call it, that I have to go through, or life in general. It's always happening in my highest good, like the easiest way possible. And look, and again, I look at my face, it's like, okay, well, clearly I had to go through this, but it kind of just looks like a sunburn. And from this, it kind of just looks like, like now I don't need to put on any makeup. Like so okay, I'll take it. Again, I don't want to say that, like, I don't want to just Pollyanna it. It is uncomfortable. I have a hard time, sometimes sleeping because I just want to scratch and boot. However, I can manage that. And I know it's not going to last forever. And because that is my belief, and because my belief carries me forward, and because I have faith in something bigger, that this was like, here, Christina, this is all you need to do right now, then this is the least amount that I have to go through. I'm like super grateful because whatever's coming next, it gets to be clear and pure and not so limited by whatever perceptions were this level of toxicity living in my mind.
Whole new frequency.
Only frequency. Yeah.
Awesome. Can you tell us about what has been going on in your life, the new things that you're doing, and what you've been drawn to in this stage?
Yes. Well, I have been drawn to much of the same for the past, like, honestly, 23 years, I'd say I've been into energy healing and health in all forms. And more recently, I've gotten back into Ayurveda. I have been I was introduced to Ayurveda more formally about 20 years ago, and I loved it. And I've been kind of self-studying and studying in different capacities, different courses, workshops, and whatnot over the past 20 years. And more recently, I enrolled in Ayurveda school, and I love it. And for those of you who don't know, Ayurveda is simply like a light. It translates to life science, the science of life. And the idea is looking at everything, including the body, as elements. And again, this helps to bring us into nature, right? Because if our bodies are comprised of the different elements and our organs and our tissues are comprised of the different elements, then we can find out ways to balance our bodies and bring ourselves into alignment through elements and qualities and food, and everything that we interact with has these energetic and elemental qualities. And it helps to bring like you into alignment, not just health of your body and your mind, but also in your purpose, your dharmic purpose of life. And so, anyways, I just love it. And and more recently, I have become kind of an affiliate with the school because I love it so much and I believe in it so much that I can bring people in, I've started doing community gatherings at my home here in Edwards, Ontario, just outside of Ottawa, just to build more of a community, just to build more of a community with this common language of elements and balancing the elements and understanding how we're all elements. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been having monthly community circles. It's called a Cup of Ayurveda. And we do some online every now and then, but mostly in person. I really am looking to bring that in person quality back. And with that, I've also been, which is so much fun, I've also been mentoring the leaders and the practitioners in the school, like the students that are graduating, into helping them start their own practices and their own community circles. It's like a dream job because the student body is international, and that's exactly what I've done. And I also am doing energy work again. I'm going to be starting that in the new year and coming
Mm.
out with some more offerings. Yeah, because I'm really feeling, and I love that you do this with a daily dose of healing, but I'm really feeling that people, we need more support. We need more reminders in all forms. And there's so many ways, especially when we look to ancient traditional practices, Ayurveda, um, uh, traditional Chinese medicine, indigenous healing methods. Like, there's so much wisdom that we've gotten away from. And my ultimate goal is like, can we just remember all of that until these kinds of teachings and sharings are pointless?
Awesome. So how do they get a hold of you if they want to work with you, whether on an energy healing or an Ayurvedic level? How can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Christina Mira, Christina with a K, Mira, Mira. You can also send me an email or go to the website. My website is theacornrevolution.com. email is hello@theacornrevolution.com. Doesn't have the website isn't fully updated with all of the things because life happens so fast. And as I mentioned, I do have 4 children. But either way, reach out and I can connect you to whatever it is that you might be interested in.
Yay. Thank you so much for being with us today. And
Thank
I
you.
will link all of that in our notes.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. I don't know how to stop the video. I'm sure it will be that.